my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire freaking internet that has nothing whatsoever to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. So here we are again, folks. Welcome back, YouTube friends and family. It's been 8 days. I was thinking, gosh, I should make a YouTube video. I don't think I made one in a week. So I actually just checked to see when the last one was, and it was 8 days and 2 hours ago. That's the longest I've gone without making a YouTube video since I spent the winter in the Philippines. You know, I was over there like 5-month vacation, and I just didn't work a whole lot. But no, I've not been on vacation. I've been very busy. It was a very busy week this week. And, you know, of course, the focus is on other social media platforms because they pay me more. And yeah, I do it for the same reason Jesse James robbed banks. That's where the money was, right? So Sick Twisted Humor on Facebook. You can see me there regularly. And now Sick Twisted Humor on Instagram. We're blowing that up. But I'm going to keep doing this. I give you my word on that. And I whatever. I'm going to do it as I can. Well, I'm going to talk to you about this past week because I think there's some life lessons here, and I had a massive aha moment because of some conversations that took place over the last couple of days, some things I've seen. Let me stay hydrated. It doesn't look hot because I'm in the shade, but it's 80 degrees or 85 degrees, and I actually have my Beaver camping fan. Didn't even hear it, did you? No, you hear something. That's the mower a couple properties down mowing their beautiful driveway. You can get this on Amazon. The link to our Amazon affiliate store is in the description box below. Please use that link when you go to Amazon to buy this Beaver fan, because I am an Amazon affiliate, get commissions for that, and I'm a Beaver sponsor. $40, and it's like, it's so awesome. And if you charge it, I think it lasts for 100 hours on a full charge. It's awesome. I love to work out on my front porch because the place is beautiful. And if it's hot, I just take this fan out there and I can still work on the porch. But let's get to it. Life lessons, big aha moment. So I'm trying to control my adult ADD. Which, by the way, is common among entrepreneurs, which I am. I heard somebody talk on this recently. You know, a lot of people view disabilities as just that, a disability. They'll view a handicap as a handicap. So many of the things in life that we think that do appear to be a disadvantage at one point can become some of our greatest strengths later. And that's part of what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm going to try to stay away from it's part of the toxic environments, toxic backgrounds, toxic families of origin. When you're used to putting up with abuse, degradation, and then you put ADD on top of that, it's like you become the perfect person to be a small business owner or a large business owner. I know we got 1.3 million people following us and watching us on social media, and we're doing very well for ourselves. It's because you're used to anticipating catastrophes, disasters, putting out fires, acting quickly, multitasking. So yeah, if you got whatever your issue is, don't view it as a weakness. It's a strength. You just got to find out how to use it. So I registered my son for school this week. He's doing homeschooling through a virtual private academy. Again, I'm going to tell you who it is. Listen, it's K12.com. Now, you can go to K12.com in any state in the United States, and you can have your child go to school there for free if you do the public section of it. But we do the private, and it's like $632 a month in tuition, because that allows us more freedom and flexibility. We can be in any time zone we want. And we like to travel, and we're not, so we don't believe we're going to go back to the Philippines this winter. We are going to go to South America. We're going to go to Peru, and it's in the middle of winter, January, because that's the roughest month, and we just want to get somewhere warm and sunny and pleasant. And if we like it, I might not come back till April. So that's why we went with the private academy again. because we want that flexibility. I don't know, it might even be the same time zone because but it's in the southern hemisphere. I want the freedom. So I had to call this place and re-register Daniel, and I had to, they asked me all these questions, and I took notes because I'm just going to get to it. The first question was all about the public schools, why we're going with the private school, virtual homeschooling, all these things. And the lady, wonderful lady, she asked me, is the reason you're homeschooling your child through our virtual private academy because of bullying? Is he being bullied at school? I said no. And they said, is it because he was bullied in the past? I said no. And then she asked something like, I don't know, it's a bunch of, they're really addressing the bullying thing. And then she said, okay, she was going down a checklist. And then she says, so why aren't you doing, why are you doing this? And I said, well, I'm disgusted with the current state of the public schools in America. And ironically, that's why we came here from the Philippines. I wanted my son to be educated here. And now it's like, we've thought about going back and having him finish up over there. We're not going to, though. Why? Football. So I just told her, I said, we're really disenfranchised with the public schools. And she says, why? And I say, because they no longer educate, they indoctrinate. The focus is no longer on curriculum, it's on social issues. It used to be reading, writing, arithmetic. Teachers knew their place. They didn't push their political views on their students. But now it's about a bunch of other stuff. And I'm not going to say here you guys you're picking up what I'm laying down, right? She says, okay. Then her next question, I actually took notes. So Daniel was always a straight A student, okay? He'd never gotten a grade less than an A in his life until he went to the public middle school 2 years ago, because we homeschooled him last year. And he's never failed anything, but his grades were lower. So she asked about the GPA, okay? Grade point average. And again, that's why we pulled him out. He had one teacher. I'm not going to say what class it was, because a crap ton of people in my area watch my videos on YouTube. I know because they approach me in public, which I don't mind. They say, oh, hey, I watch you on YouTube, or I watch your jokes on Facebook. This particular teacher was just obsessed with pronouns, and that's what she talked about all the time, not the curriculum of the coursework. And in that course, he actually got a C. So anyway, the teacher asked, why was his GPA kind of lower last year? And I explained to her, and this would have been his first year of virtual schooling. I said, well, because we spent our winter in the Philippines. I said, we hadn't been over there for a number of years. And quite honestly, we just didn't prioritize academics. I said, we were back with our Filipino family for 5 months. And our focus really was just doing the bare minimum required for him to pass his classes. And but we spent the majority of our time hanging out with our family, hanging out on the beaches, at the resorts we go to, and right across the road from my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl's sister's house, was a beach. And the woman was like, yeah, I understand, I get it, focusing on life. I'm like, yeah. Well, I wasn't answering the questions in the way that the form, she had to she said, oh, I've got to check other, like the first one, I'm disenfranchised with the public schools. They no longer educate, they indoctrinate. She goes, I'll check other. Okay, so I told her this about the family. She's like, I understand, but sir, just so you know, I have to check other, right? Okay. So then she asks, would you be interested in your child being in any sort of advanced placement courses? And I said, well, what are those exactly? It's been a million years since I was in school. She goes, well, these are courses that would prepare him for a particular career after college. I said, no. She said, okay. So she checked no. Then she said, why not? I'm curious. And plus I have to ask you, why don't want your child to be in courses that would prepare him for a specific career once he's out of college? I said, ma'am, the world will change so much between now and the time my 13-year-old son is out of college. Now, I know it's going to go by quick. It's going to go by super quick. But the world is going to be an entirely different place then, just as it is a different place today than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And a lot of the jobs that you might be preparing these students for simply are no longer going to exist, or they will change in such a way to where there's nothing you can do right now today in preparation for the way that job is currently run and operated that would prepare them to do it the way it's going to be operated in 10 years. It's a very fast moving economy. And she listened and she said, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I've got to check other. I said, okay. I wasn't telling them what they wanted to hear. So she kept going down, just asking these questions, and I just kept, we had a coaches meeting last night. I'm coaching tackle football this year. Daniel's playing tackle football for the first time. He's always done flag in the past, every fall, every spring, for the last 7 years. But this is the time. Hey, it's time to either crap or get off the pot, right? And so you have to do tackle if you want to pursue that. So I met, well, I already knew these people very, hi, we've met before, but actually spent more time getting to know some folks last night. One of the coaches' wives was at the meeting. It was at a brewery restaurant, and we had a good time. And the kids were there, and we all went to a football game afterwards, a high school football game, and scrimmage, still preseason. And I told my head coach's wife, because I'm honest. If you ask me something, I'm going to tell you how it is, at least how I see it. I'm not going to tell you what I think you want to hear. And I told her, I'm real, and because of that, I only have like 2 friends. You know, when you're real, people either love you or hate you, and most of them will hate you. And she laughed. And this was a good group of people, and they're like-minded people, so I'm sure she doesn't hate me. So anyway, we're going through this questionnaire. We get to the end, and she says, okay, she read me a statistic, and I knew this, but she read it to me anyway. She said, sir, are you aware of the fact that last year, more Americans pulled their children out of public schools in America than any year in the history of our nation, to either send them to private schools or to homeschool them, but to certainly get away from the public school system. Are you aware of this? And I said, I am aware of this, yes. And she says, okay, why do you feel this is? And I said, other. And she kind of giggled. She goes, no, sir. I said, there's not going to be a box for what I have to say about that. And she says, well, sir, on this question, I can actually type some notes in there. So could you please tell me? And I said, sure. I said, listen, not only did the public schools in the U.S. no longer educate because they indoctrinate, but they do not prepare you to be successful in the real world. And she said, how so? And I said, well, what they do is they prepare you to be a worker bee / servant / slave. They're inefficient. The amount of time, for example, my son spends 2 hours a day on curriculum. When he was going to the public school, from the time he got on the bus until the time he came home, that was 10 hours. So that's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, 80, 160, 160 hours a month. Just do the math. It's a ton of wasted time. Now, you got to make sure that with that time you save, you're effective and efficient with it. That's why Daniel takes guitar lessons every week. That's why he does participate in sports. Now that we're doing tackle football, practice is 3, sometimes 4 days a week with a game on every weekend once the games start. So that's like 5 days a week. So he stays active, he's social doing these things. But the public schools teach you how to waste time. They do not want you to multitask. I used to get in trouble all the time. When I was a kid, it's like they finally start, I don't know. I've never been diagnosed with ADD, okay? So, but dude, come on. Especially if you've been watching this channel for years. Kind of obvious, right? But multitasking in and of itself, Daniel, I remember he told us a story about he was multitasking one day in the public school when he was in grade school, and the teacher admonished him for it and said, no, you get in these lines. When I raise my pinky, everybody shut up. You got the one kid that has behavioral problems, holding everybody else back. You can't have the instruction because the teacher's got to deal with that one kid. And then there's the teachers, half of which are lunatics. Now listen, the other half are not. So if you're a teacher in my community, don't think I'm saying you're a lunatic because you're a teacher. If you're not a lunatic, you're not a lunatic, and you might be a teacher. But I know plenty of teachers who are lunatics, and I wouldn't want my kid in their classrooms. There's just so much. And so anyway, at the end of that, she says, okay, he's registered, he's processed, we charge your debit card, charge you every month on this date. I'm like, whatever. And I said, so you probably think I'm crazy, don't you? You know what she said? She says, actually, sir, I don't. She goes, and all the things you've told me, I hear from other parents, and they're typically people who run their own businesses. They work for themselves. She says, I don't know what you do, and I don't want to know what you do. It's none of my business. But she says, everything you said are things I wish I knew 30 years ago when I went to college to be a teacher. That's what this woman is telling me. And now that I do kind of sort of understand, at least I can wrap my head a little bit around the things you're saying and the way you say them, I question why I wasted my life doing what I do. And I said, ma'am, you have not wasted your life doing what you're doing. You felt called to this for some reason, but I'm telling you, if you go the traditional route, you're going to spend up until you're 18 years old wasting 10 hours a day being taught how to obey and conform, how to be just like everyone else, so that after you party balls off in college for 4 to 6 years and marry the girl or the guy that either the girl you got pregnant or the guy that got you pregnant, and then go around acting like it was all planned, struggling to find a job, then you finally do, and then you're going to spend the next 20 years fighting over money because there's never enough, trying to pay these bills, and then once you finally start making decent income, by the time you reach your high income earning years, which is around 50, you think, wow, I finally got money to do stuff. Hey kids, let's go to the beach. But guess what? The kids aren't there to go to the beach with you, because now it's their turn. They're going through the meat grinder. They're off at college getting some girl pregnant, or getting pregnant by some dude if they're a girl, starting that next cycle, the perpetual cycle. Then, hey, you retire. Well, 60% of you are going to have to work because you made poor financial choices, the biggest one being following that cycle of insanity that is the American middle class's way of life. So you're gonna be working. 60% of retirees will have to work at least part-time to be able to support themselves, because Social Security is not going to be enough. It was never meant to be a retirement plan, folks. It was meant to be a supplemental retirement assistance plan. People just don't get it. Welfare, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Trust funds, I'm not just bashing government assistance. I'm also going to bash trust funds here real hard in a minute. Yeah, and so with what little time you do have in retirement, well, you want to see your grandkids, but they're 3 states away and they never come see you. Why? Because you didn't take the time to spend time with your kids when they were little, so why would they spend time with you? And what the hell, were they going to get their grandkids around you to make you feel good about it or something? You neglected them through childhood, and they're going to neglect you through old age. That's how it goes. It's just nuts. And of course, I told this woman the short version of this, but she was like, yeah, I totally get it. We have 24 kids on our tackle football team. I'm going to piss off half the parents, I guess, I coach here. There's about 4 households of kids, parents, mothers, fathers. There's a grandmother. We've had grandparents in the past who actually come to every practice, come to every game, never miss a game. And you know, surprise, surprise, guess whose kids excel? The ones who know they have support, because the support's there. It's seen, it's shown. So anyway, there's that. I've been doing that. And coaching's kept me busy this week. But I had a conversation with somebody from my past recently this week. And I had this major aha moment, and I'm going to get to it, because this conversation and then that football game I watched yesterday, it really connects. So this person, they're from Appalachia, West by God, Virginia, where I grew up. Beautiful state, wonderful people over there. Some of the most wonderful people I've ever known are from over there. Appalachian mentality is different than where I live now. I live in Albemarle County, Virginia, right outside of Charlottesville. It's a wealthy area. There's a lot of affluence here. Two different types, my gosh. Listen, there's two types of rich people. And yeah, I was a stockbroker for 8 years, and I used to deal with them. Same reason Jesse James robbed banks. It's where the money was. Okay, I didn't get paid. I got commissions. Couldn't earn a commission unless if I was putting people's money in investments. And poor middle class people don't have any. They got debt. So I associated with wealthy people in those days. And I found there's two types of rich people. There are those who are born into wealth, and then there are those who are self-made. And they are two entirely different animals in so many different ways. Okay? Where I live, it's about half and half. Half the people here who are rich were born into it. The other half, they're like us. They're what you might call, what you would call in just financial terminology, first generation. We worked to earn it. I never received an inheritance, and I never will. My parents hate me. It's no secret. We've been estranged for 15 years. I bought my $1 million property. I bought my truck. I bought everything in our house. I fund my investment accounts. That's money that I don't receive, as gifts from a family trust. I earn it. Okay. So the point of this is it's a very different area than a repressed area like Appalachia. And I was having this conversation with this person, and I was listening to this person just go on and on and on. This person is not affluent, okay? And they were talking about another person we know who is not affluent. Going on and on and on about government assistance and how they should be given this and they should be given that and they should be given more of this and given more of that. And in reference to the other person we were discussing, this person mentioned about how the government took everything away from her. They took everything away from her because she got a job. This person went out and got a job for hourly wages, and now this person's working X amount of, a lot. This person's working a lot, okay? And that's commendable. But the government just took everything from them. I said, well, what did they take? She didn't own a home. Yeah, it's female. Maybe. I mean, does that word even mean anything anymore? That's another reason our kids homeschooling. So, took everything from them because they went out and got a job. And so now they're earning. I said, well, what do you mean they took? What did they take? Did they seize her bank account? Well, no, they took away her HUD housing payments, so now she got to pay her own rent. Took away a certain amount of EBT, the free food debit card thing. Not all, but some of it. All these things. And I said to this person, and this didn't go over well. But I said, do you realize there's a difference between taking things away from you and giving you less? Because there's a difference. If the government took stuff from me, they would have to seize my property. They would have to seize my assets. That's taking stuff away. There's a big difference between that and I'm not on welfare. So let's say I was. Let's say they were paying my mortgage for me, or they were giving me EBT funds so I could buy food. Okay, if they were to stop doing that because I went to work and started earning money, they would not be taking that away from me. They would be giving me less assistance. And guess what? That's how those programs are supposed to work. None of this stuff was supposed to be permanent. But I come from a place where, welfare is generational. It's a cyclical, it's a generational. That's what you do. And it's everywhere. It's not just in Appalachia. I'm not just giving a hard time, to my fellow Appalachian Americans. I see it here. Even though this is an affluent area, there's people that do it here if you go into the city. But there's also people out in the country that do it. And I'm getting to this because, listen, there are the haves and the have-nots. A lot of the haves are just as worthless, in my opinion, as the have-nots. And you're going to hear why. Well, nobody's worthless, okay? they can always be used as a bad example. I know a guy who just faked an injury to get a disability check, claims to be taking care of aged people who can't care for themselves, so he gets a payment check from Medicaid, and he's not taking care of anybody. It's just crazy. Oh, but guess what? 3 generations ago, his great-great-grandfather actually did something and was able to acquire about 500 acres of land, and so the dude was born rich, land rich, but needed an income, so he scams the system. Why not sell the land, you ask? Well, because for some reason people just don't do that. People who buy land and they do buy and sell. I never want to sell this place but it's because I love it. That's all. But it's like there's this thing. People who are born on the land, they never want to sell it. And their parents tell them. Like a lot of people, you ask yourself, well, why don't these people go out and get an education, get a job, and do something? Why do they just stay there and mooch off the system? Well, because their parents tell them, if you leave, you ain't getting nothing when we're gone. If you leave, we're going to give it all to your brother and sister because they're the ones here working the land. So it's like, crap. If I go to medical school and become a doctor, I'm not going to get any part of that 500 acres back in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm staying put. It's crazy. So anyway, there's that. Now I'm going to move on, okay? Half the kids I coach are probably going to get pulled off my team next week because I know their parents are watching. So, there are 4 high schools in my county where I live here in Virginia. All of them have better and nicer facilities. All of it. Schools, playgrounds, the buildings, parking lots. But especially the athletic facilities, football fields, basketball courts, tracks. They have nicer facilities. All 4 high schools in my county have nicer facilities than any public high school in the entire state where I grew up. There's a lot of money here, a lot of wealth, right? The school in our district, the one that my son would go to if we do allow him to go back to public school, and unfortunately I think it's probably going to happen because he's obsessed with football and he wants to play football. Like what he's doing now, it's not associated with the school. The middle school here doesn't have a football team, but there's a league for middle school aged kids, and he's in that league. That's where I'm coaching. I've had to take online courses, got a certificate, background check, all of it. So I'm actually an official coach this time, and I'm not getting paid. It's volunteer. I would not take a paycheck if they gave me one. And why? Because I'm so rich? No, because let me tell you the benefits to volunteering over being employed. When you're employed, they own you. They can treat you with disrespect, jerk you around, tell you when you can and can't have a day off. When you volunteer, they treat you with respect, dignity, because they know you can get up and leave anytime you want. That's one of the beauties of not being a debt-ridden middle-class American. It's like you don't like your job, you want to quit, you just leave because you don't have all these payments. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, bye. You quitting? Yeah. Why? Because you disrespected me. I don't like it. It's a toxic environment. Like when I quit the post office. What about, how are you going to pay your bills? Well, back then it was, I made it on social media, but now it's like, if they totally canceled me, I could pay what few bills I have with interest and dividends from investments. So I don't have to work. And that's a beautiful thing. And you know how you get there? Well, you can be born into it. But I said earlier, I wasn't. You can stop buying all that stupid crap you don't need, save your money instead, and then invest the bulk, the lion's share of it that you don't need. I love dividend stocks. Okay, another topic for another time. So anyway, these facilities are very nice, these school facilities. Did I mention that I think I have adult ADD? Okay, so it's because there's just so much money here, and it's funded by taxpayers. You pay your taxes, it goes to the school, and there's just so much damn money there because so many people are here. I pay more money in income taxes than the average household in this country earns total. Whatever that number is, I pay way more than that just in income taxes, okay? Hey, and we got nice schools. I'm all for it, even though my kids don't go there and I pay tuition for them to go to whatever. We got nice roads and bridges. Those are nice. Until the day comes that the roads, we're being told, oh, I'm not a road, I'm a giraffe. And if you don't agree with me, you're a racist. Man, this society has gone mad. So anyway, we go to this high school scrimmage last night after the coaches meeting at the brewery, and our team got the living crap kicked out of us by a team from Southwest Virginia, down below Lynchburg. Rustfield, I think, killed us, crushed us. And that team is from the small part of southwestern Virginia that is actually part of Appalachia. A lot of people don't realize that Appalachia does, that southwestern portion of Virginia is actually part of West Virginia. So it's a repressed area. So we're standing there and somebody beside me says, I just don't get it. This area is not good at football. We've just never been good at football. Some of the other schools in the county are. When we have those inter-county rivalries, our school always loses. And they're like, why? They were trying to figure out why. And I said, because of all the privilege. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And there was people over here looking at me like I was crazy. And I said, yeah. I said, those kids over there beating the crap out of our kids, it's because they come from families who have to work. Because if they don't work, they don't eat. They're certainly not wealthy. They were not born into wealth. Some of them might be, but they're not poor enough to where they would qualify for this government, like the cyclical generational welfare mentality of Appalachian. Maybe some of them are like that. But most of them know that if you want to succeed, if you want anything in this life, and if it's worth having, you have to work for it. Nothing good comes free. I mean, and you think, well, what about those people born into wealth? That mansion's good. That 500-acre tract of land in the Blue Ridge Mountains is good. Those dividend checks every month from the trust funds are good. Yeah, that stuff's good. I wouldn't turn it away. But the things that bring you joy, money doesn't bring me joy. Yeah, I focus on earning as much of it as I can, and I do a pretty damn good job of it. But it's because it brings me freedom, which is what I enjoy. I don't have to be making this video right now. I don't have to work for anybody. I don't have to go to a job. What brings me joy is spending every minute of every day with my wife and with our son. What brings me joy is doing the things that they like doing, which are things I like doing. I mean, Daniel wants to play sports. Football's his sport of choice. You better believe I'm jumping in there and doing it with him. I'm putting in 20 hours a week coaching, right? Going to the Philippines to see my wife's family, my family in the Philippines, our family in the Philippines. That brings me joy. Money allows me to do that. And the freedom I have, because the money, the way I make it through social media, investment, income, I don't have to have an employer. I mean, even people that have what you might consider a good job with good pay, they can't just leave for 5 or 6 months a year and go to a different country. Freedom. I love the word freedom. I wish more folks knew what that word meant. So anyway, they're like, why do we suck at football? And I said the privilege. And they look at me and they wanted me to explain that. I said, okay, those kids over there have to work to earn everything they'll ever have. They don't come from trust fund families. If they want something, they have to go out there and get it. I said, these kids don't. You know what one of the hardest jobs for me as a coach in this zip code is? Getting kids not to quit the team the first time they break a sweat. Honest to God's truth. once they get out of their comfort zone, it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm just going to quit. And I ask them, okay, so if you're going to quit, what happens? Well, nothing. I'm not going to be coming to practice. I'm going to go home and, whatever, play video games, do whatever. Because we started practice 2 weeks ago and it was 90 degrees and these kids were sweating. Let me tell you, you can tell who got out there this summer and trained and prepared because they knew football was starting in August. And you can tell who sat in the house in the air conditioning playing video games. It was like a day and night different. It's like you had these 6 kids that were ready and 18 that weren't. So I told them, no, that's not what's going to happen when you quit. It's not about just going home and being the air conditioning and not having people that are bigger than you hitting you with their bodies as hard as they can. And I explained to them how we basically become that which we do. The sum total of who we are is based upon the actions we have taken in our past due to the decisions we have made. Okay? It's like I had a guy explain it once. He drew an X on a piece of paper. He said, this is where you are. And this is because of the actions you took based upon the decisions you made in the past. All right? So listen, if you don't like where you are, crumple that piece of paper with the X on it and throw it away, and going forward, make different decisions and take different actions. Okay? And so I explain this. And I have seen this. I have been coaching off and on for 25 years. I've coached from high school. I've assisted in college. From high school down to preschool. I've coached boys. I've coached girls. I've coached mixed gender teams. I've coached basketball, football, track and field. I think that's it. What I've seen is that once you start quitting, you never stop, because that becomes your pattern of behavior. And this is where I'm saying, trust fund babies, if you were to take away the money, take away the stuff, look at the individual and compare them to a welfare bomb. What's the difference between the two? Nothing. Once you take away the stuff, I know the trust fund baby has the mansion and the land and the stocks and the bonds and the mutual funds and blah, blah, blah. But if you take that away and you look at them, how do they live their daily lives? Not all. Again, not all, but so many. What's the difference between them? Nothing. Neither of them do anything. One sits around and watches Jerry Springer all day, and the other one sits around surfing on the internet, watching people like me on social media. But in the grand scheme of things, what did they actually do that day that was productive? What did they do to benefit society? What did they do to benefit their community? What did they do to get themselves in a little bit better place tomorrow than they're in today? Nothing. The idle rich, you've heard that term. What's the difference between the idle rich and the idle poor? Nothing. They're both idle. So, success, and I explain this to the kids I coach, will always lie on the other side of your comfort zone. It's not going to come to you. And you're doing something new. You're doing something you've never done. Of course it's going to be challenging. If you didn't prepare to do it, it's going to be even more challenging. But if you stick with it and you do begin to prepare, you train, you work at it, you learn, you'll get better, it will get easier, and you will succeed because you push through the discomfort. That's what that barrier's there. I'm comfortable right here. That discomfort, that's just a barrier. You push through it, you get through it, and guess what's on the other side? Success. And with that, and having done that on your own, you develop a sense of achievement, dignity, and pride that people who do not succeed, who do not achieve, will never know. And it makes it all worth it. It's not about the accolades. Nobody remembers that me, this guy, in 1991 was the West Virginia state champion in the mile. True story. Ran a 4:33. I always tell people it had been faster, but our tracks were uphill over there. Most of them don't even get it. They're like, but I thought, no, it's a joke, brah. Nobody will remember ever, other than me, that in 2007, the year I went to basic training in Georgia as an infantryman in the United States Army, I scored the highest PT score on the entire base of Fort Benning, which I'm sure they probably renamed now because somebody got offended. Whoever this Benning dude was, he probably did something terrible in the past. Okay, I had the highest PT score on that base that year of 2007. No one beat me. That's where the infantry trains, which is what I was, airborne, which is what I was, air assault, the guys that come down out of the helicopters and kill you, special forces, Army Rangers. I think when I was told this, the woman, she was a sergeant major, maybe a command sergeant major, very beautiful black lady in her late 30s. She came to me at airborne school. We're in the gym working out, and you hear somebody yell, "At ease," because that meant like a very high-ranking person just came in. So we all jump up, go to parade rest. She says, "At ease." She's walking around reading name tags, and she sees my name. It says Lake. She goes, "Are you Specialist Lake?" I said, "Yes, Sergeant Major." And I went to parade rest, and she said, "No, at ease, at ease." She said, "I want to shake your hand." And I'm like, "Okay, why, Sergeant Major?" "Yeah, Sergeant, maybe Command Sergeant Major, I don't know." She says, "You've scored higher on PT than anybody that the 35,000 soldiers that have trained on this post this year." And it was the end of the year. It was like, I don't know, August, I think, September. So yeah, man, it was like 9 months. Nobody beat me. So in 2 minutes, I did 100 push-ups, and in 2 minutes, I did 95 sit-ups, and then you have to run 2 miles. This is the old PT test. It's changed, but back then I had to run 2 miles. I ran it in 11 minutes flat. I was trying to go under 11, but that was 5.5 minute miles, 2 of them back to back. And when I went to basic training, I was 33 years old. I joined late. I didn't join until the terrorists came over and knocked our buildings down. Pissed me off, and I wanted to go have a say about it, and I did. I got to go over to Iraq, and even though that's not who knocked them down, but whatever. The people to this day don't understand how intricate that war on terror was. And let me tell you, my view will always be, no, my time in Iraq wasn't wasted. No, what we did there was not wasted. I have a very good friend who was a CIA agent, and he's very liberal, and he's liberal Democrat, and he told me he agrees with me on our time not being wasted in Iraq, because he said basically what we did in the Middle East was that we permanently disabled terrorist networks' abilities to ever come together and become one in such a way that they could ever attack us again. So you can bitch and complain about, oh, we shouldn't have been here, we shouldn't have been there. You may possibly be alive because we were, and you will just never know, okay? So anyway, back to the story. I explained what I've just said to you, but the short version, of course, I don't talk for an hour when I'm hanging out with my buddies at football games or at, the pub, about one topic. I talk for hours about lots of topics. But when you're brought up in an environment where your go-to is just, oh, this is hard, I'm just not going to do it. Oh, this is uncomfortable, so I'm not going to push through that discomfort. You're pretty much going to suck. We saw it yesterday. There was one specific play where the quarterback threw the ball to the receiver, to one of our guys. The guy went up to catch it. It bounced off his hands and went up in the air. Well, he just put his head down and said, well, shoot, I didn't catch that ball. Well, guess what? The defender from the not rich kids school from Appalachia that came up here and beat the hell out of us, he didn't give up on the play. He didn't quit because he's not a quitter. He knows if you want anything in life, you have to work for it. So it bounced off the receiver's hands. So I didn't catch that. Shoot. Man, it's up there. Man, I'm not going after that. I'd have to jump again. Jump twice on one play? He just stopped. The defender, the cornerback or safety, whichever one he was, caught the ball, which guess what? It's an interception. Took off running all the way to the end zone. Scored a touchdown. They called it a pick six. Well, why didn't anybody tackle him? Well, they just gave up. Why? Well, it's difficult. I'm going to run over there and catch that guy and tackle him. So that's my point. And the other guys I was talking to at that game, they looked at me and they were like, there might be something to that. Yeah. Listen, privilege is just as destructive to the individual as lack. Remember that. I've coined this phrase. I wrote it down. That's how I was able to remember it, because of that adult ADD thing. Privilege is just as destructive as lack when it comes to individuals. I got rich guys living all around me who don't do squat because they don't have to. Well, what kind of a life is that? It's not. They're existing. They are not living. Did I tell you to get my 6? You never know who or what may or may not show up in the background of these videos. But listen, not all trust fund babies are like that. Let me tell you, I saw a friend of mine on that field yesterday coaching for our team voluntarily, even though it is a public high school. He's like, nope, don't pay me. I just want to be here. This is what I do. He's got a son on the team who is not, his kid works hard. His kid, listen, they're wealthy, but they're not idle, and they have work ethic. But this guy, this is an example, and not all rich people are lazy. He's volunteering, he's probably volunteering 40 hours a week. That's like full-time job. You know, so there's many of those. We got a lot of rich friends around here. That guy's wife, for example, volunteers at her children's schools probably more than any parent. Now, they could sit around and do nothing but day drink and whatever, smoke some herb. We're in Virginia, it's legal here. But they don't. I mean, maybe they do. But they're out there contributing to their communities, making their communities a better place, and making themselves, as a byproduct of that, better tomorrow than they are today and than they were yesterday. Okay? So, I hope you got something out of this nearly 1 hour long video. I guess that's what happens when I don't make a video for 8 days. Hey, you might not see me again for a week because of football and everything else we got going on in the world. Staying viral on Sick Twisted Humor on Facebook and now on Instagram. I mean, there's a story in and of itself. When I wanted to become a social media content creator 15 years ago, people were like, oh no, you can't do that. You're not going to make it. That's for 20-year-old hot girls that can twerk, because that was the thing back then. Well, Margaret, here we are. So then I got the idea to do Instagram because it's another paycheck. It's another income stream. I mean, we got like 12 of them. And it's like, why not? Because then when this isn't doing well, which it hasn't been for the last year and a half because we're shadow banned because I won't e-beg. Okay, so what? I'm making bank on Facebook. Well, what happens if something like that happens on Facebook? Well, that's why I do Instagram. And of course, many other things. Go through our Amazon affiliate link next time you purchase anything on Amazon, because I get a commission. Yeah, if they pulled all this out from underneath me, we could pay our bills with that. I mean, it's like a safety net, you know what I mean? Which gives me my time, my freedom to spend with my family, which is what brings me joy. So please understand this. It's not about the money, but that's what money allows you to do. Buy you freedom so you don't go to some job you hate or that you actually like. X amount of days a week, X amount of months out of the year. So, hey, you don't like winter? You just go somewhere tropical like the Philippines, or where we're going to go in South America this winter. Peru, that's where we're going to go. And I might not come back till spring because I don't have to. Brah. You know what I mean? So I hope you got something out of this. I'm really going to go because I actually have a couple of our players coming over this evening to train with Daniel. We're going to work on some plays, man. And I tell you what, these kids, and they're a good group of kids. So before you pull your kid off my team because of everything I just said, let me tell you, we got a mix. We got kids that come from very well-to-do families. We got kids that come from maybe not so well-off families, but they're all wonderful. They're all wonderful. They're working hard. A lot of them have not played tackle football before. Half of them I've coached in flag football over the past year. So it's like, wow, it's like a big team reunion. It's wonderful. People often say they don't have much hope for the future of this country because of the younger generation. Let me tell you, I'm working with the younger generation, and I'm seeing hope. I'm seeing a lot of hope. These are great kids. They're in middle school now. They've got very bright futures, regardless of where they are right now in life, because of where they were born, which they had no choice over. Like me, this guy. They're going to go as far as they want to go. And I was hitting on that point when I was talking about the PT score, the state championship, the other thing. Yahoo Content Creator of the Year, when I used to write for Yahoo. Out of 600,000 writers, I think it was, contributed articles to Yahoo. Mine mostly was Veterans Affairs stuff because I'm a combat veteran. So I could write from experience, not what my buddy told me or what I saw on headline news. 600,000 writers submit between 10 and 12 million articles a year to Yahoo. And they pick 5 articles every year for that award, Yahoo Content Creator of the Year. That was me. And that's what put me on the map. The next day, jokers that you've seen on headline news, legacy headline news outlets, were contacting me in the Philippines and asking me to work for them. That's how I was able to get back to the U.S. and bring my family with me and buy this $1 million property. And of course, I converted to this now. I don't even work for them anymore. Why? Because they could control me. They could tell me what to do, when I could come and go. I got out of that, brah. But the thing of it is, most folks will never remember any of that stuff if I don't tell them. But through having achieved that stuff, through sheer bullheaded determination and hard work and the resiliency that came from lack and knowing that if I wanted something, I had to work for it. Every time I've had one of these successes, I get a sense of accomplishment that the Richards around here that I would never trade places with for one day in life ever will never know. There's a sense of pride, a sense of achievement, accomplishment, self-esteem that comes with achieving, that those who choose rather to do nothing or not push past that discomfort zone to experience success will never know. If you don't know it, it's never too late. Remember the X on that piece of paper. Crumble it up, throw it away, go out there starting today and continuing tomorrow and do something. Be successful, achieve. Be great. See you for more next time from the most awesomest homesteading channel on the planet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading. Homesteading Off the Grid.